After bashing through Hades 2, I'm left scratching my head wondering how in the blazes are they going to top this for Hades 3. Right out the gate, even in its early access jitters, Hades 2 is an absolute belter. It honestly makes you forget that there is still so much more content to come, because in many respects Hades 2 already feels like the complete game. The brawling feels fresh, the characters are like a gang of lovable rogues, and the story is top notch. But is a refinement of what was before enough to make this worthy of the hype? Well, put the kettle on and grab a cuppa as we explain all in today's early access review. Now, for the uninitiated, stepping into the world of Hades 2 might feel like you've wandered into a dodgy alley in the East End, and I was right there with you, my pedigree chums, as I thought this franchise was just a chaotic ruckus on screen with enemies chucking projectiles out like they're at a shit dart contest. And through all of this, you're told by those in the know that the key to success in Hades is that you're supposed to die again and again, all in the name of growing your character for the next run. It sounded like a proper shit show, but then bang, it hits you. You discover there's this proper arcade coin-op vibe going on, taking you back to the days when you'd shove a 20p piece in the arcade machine for another crack of glory. Hades 2, it's got that same hook, but shit, they've somehow amped this up from the original, with the gameplay loop being as addictive as a cokehead's secret stash. However, before we get into the bombastic fun, let me surprise you naysayers about what for me personally gives Hades 2 such an edge, and that is in its quietest moments. It ain't all about the smash and grab, instead it's those hush moments at your sanctuary, also dubbed the crossroads. There you are, having a chinwag with some quirky characters, tossing offerings about, hoping for a few extra buffs to beef up your character, and it's these moments are the calm in the eye of the storm, just as it was in the old game. They give you a breather, a chance to gather your wits, and blimey, does Hades 2 lay on the opportunities thick and fast in those tranquil moments. First off, let's gab on about the arsenal you'll be totting into the underworld. They ain't done polishing all the weapons in this early access build, with one more promise for the final release, but what we've got here already is unique, and while similar in vein to the first Hades, there is enough spice and variation to make things feel fresh again. My top pick, the Sister Blades. Quick, sharp and dirty like a Londoner's wet dream, perfect for dishing out the hefty damage when you're up close and personal. Now, there could have been an easy way out. They could have just rehashed the old weapons from the original Hades, right? But no, Supergiant's crew isn't about lounging about on their achievements. On top of that, they've got these nifty tools for snatching up valuable materials in the wilds. For example, you start with a basic mining pick for grabbing those precious metals to forge top-notch weaponry. But here's the rub. Do you grab the mining axe, or maybe this fancy tablet here for gathering different resources to beef up your character? Decisions. And then there's this meditation stone, a real game changer for your future battles. Use material like ash that you collect in the realms to unlock passive traits on your character building cards, boost your damage, up your health, the works, but keep your wits about you. You've only got so many points to play with, so you'll be mixing and matching to craft the demon god of your dreams, and Hades 2 is begging you to experiment constantly and shift things around. And hold on, we're not through yet. Back at the crossroads, you can brew up potions in a giant cauldron, snagging other passive buffs or hidden treasures. Eventually, you'll unlock a spot to grow some plants, bump into a trader, and even unravel a scroll that's pretty much an achievement list. Tick off tasks and bag yourself even more materials. Through all of this, I haven't even touched on the characters. Hades 2 picks up right where the old one left off, with character designs that are nothing short of splendid. These mythological bigwigs are back at it, with great voice acting to boot. The script is spot on and never frustrates you in any way. Each character behaves and speaks how you'd expect, with that undertone of comic wit fueling the universe of Hades. In terms of continuity, these characters react to the rumbles and tumbles that you get up to. For example, losing a boss battle, and these characters will react to that. The original game did this too, but already it feels like the character scripts have been nurtured even further in Hades 2. It's a right peculiar setup too, because this game thrives on doing the same old song and dance, yet it never feels like yesterday's news. There's always something new to natter about, new faces to meet, and a story that's been stitched together brilliantly that you think it's a bespoke suit from Savile Row. Even in early access, it's brimming with bits and bobs to explore. Up to now, I haven't said crap about the combat. We've been talking about everything but the meat and bones of the game, and that's because I wanted to show you how intricate Hades 2 is. If you're only viewing videos with combat on it, it might seem like I'm doing this review back to front, but that's the whole point, lads. Now, let's go cold turkey then and talk about the combat, which is where Hades 2 truly sparkles. It's a doddle to pick up, but a beast to master, rewarding you as much for sharpening your skills as for the havoc that you wreak on screen. You've got 3 types of attacks to get your head around. One lets you do a long distant attack, another's for getting up in their grills, and the last is like throwing a net. A big magic circle appears around you, slowing the beast down. But here's the mastery bit. Hold down any attack button and it morphs into a powerhouse move that could be spewing projectiles at every direction or swinging a mean hit that's going to deal mega damage. And each time this will cost magic points along with a cast time that leaves you more exposed than Bill Cosby, allegedly. And each weapon's got its own flavour, so it's about how you like to roll. But listen up, because dodging is where your game is lost or won. When the screen's a blur of chaos, you'll be bobbing and weaving like a champ, dodging death left and right. Smack an enemy and you stop them dead in their tracks as they take a beating from you whilst they're stuck in an animation. But don't get too cocky. Before you know it, you've got a whole mob on your tail and you've got to leg it before you yourself are brown bread. And for those who haven't had a bash at Hades before, you might gawp at the screen and reckon it's all a muddle, a messy scrum of pixels where no one knows what the bloody hell they're doing. But I'm here to tell you, every move is about skill. Every session is you paying your dues, mastering your build for that killer run. Everything you see here is hours upon hours of mastering its systems, and never once do you get that sense of deja vu, even though this game lives and breathes off that very premise. And like a moth to a flame, it's these run-throughs that'll keep you coming back for more. Their setup is simple enough. You've got realms, each with its own mishmash of rooms that serve up as your own personal boxing rings. Enemy after enemy comes at you, wave after wave, like a proper rough night down the local. Knock them all out and the room's cleared. On to the next brawl you go. Clear through enough of these rooms and you're face to face with a boss. Topple that hard nut and it's off to the next realm you trot. Realise this though, death is your best mate here. It's gotta happen, because with each death comes a stronger you. Now that might sound like a shit fortune cookie proverb from Panda Express, but this is what Hades thrives off. With each death you go back to your sanctuary for a bit of peace from the mayhem to ponder over your next build, ready to tackle the hordes again. And you'll see yourself getting sharper, smarter. Maybe at first you struggle to clear a few rooms, but give it time and you'll be breezing through whole realms like a hot knife through butter. No other game makes kicking the bucket feel quite so thrilling. Every death then is a step closer to becoming a living legend. And it's the boons, those sweet little blessings you pick up along each run, where Hades 2 really lands its knockout punch. As you clear each room you get a reward, and these ain't just any old trinkets, they're powerful buffs that help you push deeper into the realm. They're all tied to the big names from mythology. Take Zeus for instance, he's all about that shocking lightning. Now keep picking Zeus's boons as you go and you'll see them level up, becoming proper monstrous. But don't throw a wobbler over what you pick, because these boons, they're temporary. When you die, it's back to the sanctuary without a stitch on you, ready to have another crack at it all and see what boons the fates toss your way on the next run. And the game's clever with it too. You see boons are dangled in front of you at each room's exit. Peek through the door and you'll see what's up for grabs. That's where you've got to be a bit shrewd, balancing your health, magic and new traits. Sometimes it's better to sharpen up a few solid boons than to spread yourself over half a dozen Riley Reid style. Everything in Hades 2, just like the first outing, is like a game of chess, but here the boons feel a little fresher, more punchier. Sure, some of the old gods are back and new ones too, but there's a whole slew of new options to toy with, making for more rewarding builds. Now when it comes to the visuals, don't expect a revolution from Hades 2, but that ain't no bad thing. It's like swapping Megan Fox for Margot Robbie. If anything, the maps are a bit more nitty gritty with more destructible environments to enjoy, and each round stands out, properly distinct from the last. What we've got here then is a polish up of what Hades laid out. Snazzier particle effects, a little sharper lighting and shadows, and an art style that's outright stunning. It's like everything's been hand drawn, painted right onto your screen with a flair that could make a stoic bloke weep. It's got style in spades and reminds me of the Persona series. Just a peek at a screenshot and you know exactly what game it is. Hades 2 then just oozes its own unique vibe, the kind few games can muster. From the text boxes and UI to the menu systems and cutscenes, everything here is crafted like Van Gogh himself had a go with his brush, and it runs as smooth as silk whilst keeping up with all the fast-paced action on screen. It's Exhibit A then in the video game's courthouse as to why art style will always trump graphical prowess. Then there's the sound. That rock-esque soundtrack is back, banging on your eardrums like a drum solo at a pub gig, perfectly in sync with the chaos unfolding around you. It ain't cheesy, not by a long shot, and it never gets on your tits. It's more like a backdrop to the ballet of battle as your character pirouettes through enemies. The real magic though is in the sound effects. Every slash, bash and crash is music to your ears. Every death, explosion and a bit of scenery getting smashed up comes with a sound that fits just right. It's not about leaving you gobsmacked with the audio alone. It's there instead to complement the visuals and make it all come to life. And I've got to tip my hat to the voice acting too. It's top notch. The new main character, Melino, is an absolute gen and totally nails it. A worthy successor to our old pal Zagreus from the first game. It's a right rare thing then that an early access game is packing more punch than some full-blown releases out there. Yes, it's still a work in progress, missing an ending, a new round to explore, a new weapon to wield, and a whole list of updates that they're plotting out on their roadmap. But my word, Hades 2 has got me floored in just how much content is already in here and how polished it already is. I'm laying down a safe bet that this will be contender for Game of the Year when it reaches its 1.0 release. Not often do I get all wet behind the ears, but there's just so much to dive into here, so much game to play and such a cracking upgrade from the original Hades. It'd be wrong to not tip my hat to it. Chuck out any lingering doubts about it being early access, because my lovelies, Hades 2 is all game. Until next time, love to you all, Reggie out.